time for another Volunteer Spotlight, and today we're talking with Phil. How are you today?
Fantastic.
Tell me where you're from.
Let's see, I was born in Maryland, raised in New Jersey, and then finished high school in New Jersey, and ran away, joined the circus, and ended up in Utah.
So you served in the military, is that correct?
I did. I started in the Marine Corps Reserve out of high school, and then I was a reservist through college. And then after 13 years in the reserves, I switched over to the Air National Guard here in Utah. And I've been serving full-time in the Air National Guard since 2002. Always wanted to serve, always wanted a military career of some kind.
What was your job in the Marines?
In the Marines, I was a radio operator. And I was with a armored reconnaissance company. So we drove around the desert in armored vehicles and whatnot, and I made sure all the radios worked and we could all talk to each other. I was activated for Desert Storm, so I'm a Desert Storm veteran.
And so what made you join the Air National Guard?
Well, I finished college about 30 years and 6 months old. So way too old to apply for the Naval Aviation Program. So I switched over to the Air National Guard, hoping that they had slots. But the year I went and applied, they weren't entertaining waivers. They had plenty of people. They didn't need to entertain us old-timers. So as I went around to the different units on base with my recruiter, I said, well, I still want to be involved in aviation, and I still want to fly. So what else do you have? And he mentioned a special group of intelligence aviators that were on the base, and I went ahead and hooked up with them. So I still got to fly quite a bit. I just wasn't a pilot. I didn't even have a window where I sat. So.
And so what brought you to the Hill Aerospace Museum to start volunteering?
I kind of got hooked on air power and air power history. And once I got where I wasn't raising kids anymore, I figured why not help tell the Air Force story or air power history story. So came up here in 2012 and volunteered. And what a neat learning experience, because I didn't know much about Hill Air Force Base specifically and the role it played with all the older airplanes that are here, all going all the way back to 1940. I didn't know any of that stuff. I knew about the airplanes, I knew how they were used, but having that Utah connection was a neat experience, and that's why I've been here so long.
What is your favorite thing about volunteering here?
Telling those stories, I guess, and watching the reaction that you get from people when you tell them all the cool stuff. The airplanes are the easy part, but telling the stories of the people that made them work, the men and women who built them, the men and women who flew them, who operated them, and what they did for our country and for the world, that's the best part. When you have a cool pilot story, not necessarily a technical thing, telling a cool story about one of the air crew members or one of the people that built them, or even little known how we used them and why we used them and where we used them. But one of my favorite stories to tell is the WASP story, the Women's Air Force Service Pilots. That's one of my favorite ones to tell.
What are some things that you enjoy doing in your spare time when you're not volunteering?
I built a lot of model airplanes, and that's a great way to learn about the airplanes out here. Also, like, we have a dog, and we spend a lot of time with our dog and taking care of that. And then I do a lot of reading as well, mostly about this stuff.
Well, I wanted to thank you so much for all that you do here at the museum. We can't run the museum without you, and so I wanted to tell you thanks for all you do.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.